Hey everyone, Dan Wickline here with another episode of Professional Raconteur. Now today I want to talk about the upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover for the Arrowverse. Now the interesting thing here is, for those of you who aren't familiar with Crisis on Infinite Earths, what that did was, in the 1980s, it took all of the convoluted history of the DC universe and it's funneled it into a single new Earth. So it took the Golden Age Superman and the modern day Superman and all these different things, and it merged them into one. So we had one Superman, one Batman, one Green Lantern. Well, okay, Green Lantern doesn't count. We have a lot of Green Lanterns. But the idea being that the Silver Age, or the Golden Age Flash and the Silver Age Flash suddenly existed on the same Earth. Everybody existed on the same Earth. And it allowed a lot of streamlining, and certain aspects that got confusing got thrown out, and basically a single new timeline was created. Now, why that's important is what they can do with it post-crisis in the Arrowverse. Now, first thing, it's always going to be the Arrowverse to me. I was an early adopter of that word, and that's what it is to me, because it was Arrow and Arrowverse. So, what they can do in the Arrowverse for each of what I'm going to cover today is what I think are some of the things it could do for the different Arrowverse shows. Doesn't mean it's going to. And a lot of this is going to be wild-ass speculation, but I kind of like doing that, and I've gotten a pretty good following for that. When I used to cover all the Arrow shows for my last job, the speculation pieces were some of the more popular ones, and people seemed to like it. And I got quite a bit right, and a good amount wrong, but I got enough right that it made it interesting. And because I look at it from a writer's point of view, and also from a storyteller's point of view, what would make a good story? Now, let's start off with, we're going to go through the different shows and what can possibly happen. We're going to start with Batwoman. Now, that's going to be the most interesting because it's a brand new show. So something as dramatic as this reshuffling of Earths shouldn't affect it too much, but it could. And what it could do is it could reset all the Batman villains that have popped up over the years on Arrow and stuff like that, like Ra's al Ghul. We could have a whole new Ra's al Ghul. We could have, other Batman characters that popped up. There weren't a lot, but there was a good number that popped up on the Flash that the Flash or Arrow borrowed, and this could reset it so that Batwoman can use them. But what it could also do, in a lot of ways, is it could tap into Gotham. We could get the very popular versions of Penguin with Robin Lord Taylor, or Corey Michael Smith as the Riddler, or some of the other ones, Mr. Freeze, their version of Catwoman. All those characters that we got on Gotham could be tapped into. Now, I'm not saying they're going to, but just think about if in the middle of a Batwoman episode, there's the big finale has Robin Lord Taylor pop up as the Penguin. How awesome would that be? And how much attention would that get? So I think for that, that's kind of what Batwoman could get out of Crisis, is a resetting of the villains and allowing her the whole rogues gallery basically to go through. Now, Supergirl is kind of interesting because this is a chance to bring her onto the main Earth. No longer on Earth, 20-something, 30-something, where she's kind of in her own little universe. That means that she would come over and bring the Legion of Superheroes and Superman and Martian Manhunter, which would all be fun to suddenly have interaction. I mean, come on. We all want to see John Diggle react to Martian Manhunter. I mean, he gets so flustered every time he sees the Flash. Could you imagine him standing? I mean, I think we got a hint of that in one of the crossovers, but I mean, I really want to see them work together. That would be a lot of fun. But that also brings all the Arrowverse characters into Supergirl. Now, one of the things that was announced was that Brandon Routh was leaving Legends of Tomorrow, he and his wife. Now, yes, they're leaving Legends of Tomorrow, but are they leaving the Arrowverse? See, that's where you got to take some of this stuff with a grain of salt. They could be absolutely 100% true. But if you read Ralph's reaction, it almost felt like it was a surprise to him. So maybe he's just moving. Maybe Ray Palmer's going to end up in National City. Maybe he'll be working for the DEO now. Because, will they get Jeremy Jordan back as Wynn? Or maybe they need a tech guy over there. And who better than Ray Palmer? Maybe he'll get rid of the tech suit and use just a shrinking ability. And maybe Courtney Ford will suddenly change into being Jean Loring instead of I don't remember her character's name off the top of my head, Nora Dark. So, I mean, that's all things that are possible with Crisis on Infinite Earths. Again, don't know if they're going to do it, but wouldn't that be interesting to suddenly have Ray Palmer on Supergirl as a regular character and kind of gets him out of the silliness that he's been playing on Legends of Tomorrow? Maybe give him a little more serious role. Maybe give him a little, chance to use his intellect. With Wynn gone, maybe they want to get away from Brainiac 5. Who knows? But that's a possibility. Now, going on to Legends of Tomorrow, I think Legends, it's really hard to judge that. Things that they could do with Legends is they could bring back some of the characters they lost, like Firestorm. We know Victor Garber left to work on Hello Dolly on Broadway. I don't know if that run is still going. I doubt it, because he's been gone a long time, and maybe he's willing to come back now. Maybe they can go, this in the new Arrowverse universe, Firestorm is alive, and at that point they could be him and Jax, or it could be him and Robbie Amell's. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I'm going to make some mistakes. Ronnie Raymond. So that's another possibility too. They could also break up Legends a little bit. Maybe still continue with Katie Lotz as the main character, but switch up the team a little bit. They could bring back the basically Isis character of Talia Ash's character, because she's gone now because of the way the season ended. Maybe they want to bring her back. All those things are possible with Crisis. Now, moving on to Black Lightning, I think that's the biggest thing it could do is bring Black Lightning onto the same Earth as well. Will that change the show? No. I think they'll stay in Freeland. I think it will be specifically to that, but they can bring enough of the Arrowverse feel to kind of cross it, pull in some of the Arrowverse fans that maybe they weren't getting because the connection wasn't there. So I think that's just a good thing for Black Lightning. I think the show is great as it is. I don't really think they should change it much. It's a good family-driven show in the sense of the family characters make that show work. But they are going into a season with Markovia, and they're going to be dealing with a lot of metahumans and stuff. So having it tap into the Arrowverse a little more fully would make a lot of sense. With the additional characters, they could pull a few characters in, different things, or maybe some of the outsiders that I don't remember if any outsiders showed up in the rest of the Arrowverse or not, but it would make sense. So that's what I think they're going to do with Black Lightning, is just get a little more firmly grounded into the Arrowverse. Now, the Flash, this is the one, and this may be more me wanting this to happen than actually them doing it, but since this show started, I've been wanting Rogue War. I've been wanting a more focus on the rogues, We keep getting the one big bad. How awesome would it be to have a season of Rogue War? The older rogues and the newer rogues. Well, if you're going to do that, you need Captain Cold. And Crisis is a way you could bring Captain Cold back to life. Or you could bring the one from Earth X and the Ray. So, no one's talking about that, but all the Earth X characters could possibly come over. So you get Ray and Captain Cold. So that would be awesome there. There were some other characters they introduced over there too, like Black Condor and Phantom Lady, which suddenly could have a live action appearance. So I think that's what they could do with The Flash, is bring back Captain Cold. Wentworth Miller is such a good actor. He's such a good actor, but his character is so good. And especially the last few appearances as the Earth X version, I think he was just awesome. And I really would love to see that character come back. Now, that leaves us the Departing show and the potential spinoff. The potential spinoff, I think, is going to be Constantine. I think he's proven to be so popular that he's going to have to get his own show. I think he's too big for Legends, and I think the tone is clashing a little bit with Legends. I think he needs to be a little more serious and still fun, but he needs to be able to get darker. And there's so many fun characters that go with the dark JLA and the dark areas of the DC universe, like Zatanna and Swamp Thing and the Spectre. I mean, they were bringing the Spectre in, and the Jim Corrigan character in the original NBC series. We didn't get to him, so I'd really love to see them do that. So I think we could get a Constantine series out of this. And now the final thing that I think is possible. And again, we've been hearing, oh yeah, Arrow's ending, last 10 seasons, final season of Arrow. Is it? Stephen Amell always talked about wanting to last as long as Supernatural, and Supernatural's on what, season 14? What if Arrow's ending, but Stephen Amell isn't? What if, after Crisis, we end up with a reboot, either a Green Arrow TV series, where he goes by his real name, it's a full Green Arrow series, a Green Arrow and Black Canary series, or, stay with me on this, a Green Lantern Green Arrow series. And Diggle gets the ring. He goes by John Stewart instead of John Diggle, and the stories we used to get in the comics from Hal and Ollie, we get with John and Ollie. You know, the old Denny O'Neil and Neil Gaiman stories, those type of things. But suddenly we get that, and we get a Black Canary who Katie Cassidy has now. They know how to write the Black Canary now, and she has her proper powers. The reboot of the universe could give her that opportunity, and we're seeing her in the first couple seasons back in the really cool looking new black and yellow uniform, but she's back as Black Siren, maybe Black Canary at that point. So wouldn't it be neat if we get the more comic book version of it, you know, and now that Felicity is gone, we get a different take on it, and Stephen Amell gets to play Green Arrow a little different. Maybe not as dark, not as brooding as Batman, but a little more the character we see from the comics. So that would be interesting to me, to suddenly have a Green Arrow series with Stephen Amell, or Green Arrow and Green Lantern, or Green Arrow and the Black Canary. Now, again, this is all wild speculation. A lot of what you can do with After Crisis is reboot the villains. Some of the characters that got used and tossed away, Count Vertigo should be so much of a bigger character. Tommy could be back as Merlin, you know, from the actual Dark Archer, or John Barrowman could be back as a regular. All these things are possible after Crisis because that's what it was in the comics. It was a complete reboot and allowed DC to make the universe how they wanted, to eliminate the aspects they didn't want anymore, and just, you know, make the universe, the characters as they wanted them to, and then go forward from there. And CW can do that too with the Arrowverse. So it would be interesting to see Firestorm back and Captain Cold back, and how about Deadshot? Michael Rowe as Deadshot was awesome, and he should be back. Again, something you can do with the Crisis on Infinite Earths reboot. So that's some of the things I'd like to see. I'd love to see them do those things. Again, wild-ass speculation. So maybe I'll get a few of them right. Maybe I'll be completely wrong. But I don't necessarily think everything we're hearing right now is 100% accurate. So keep that in mind. And thank you all for listening. If you like what I'm doing here, please hit the subscribe button, the bell to get notifications, hit a like, those kind of things. I could use a signal boost and greatly appreciate it. Have a good week.